we're going to congratulate the Baltimore Ravens on their excellent win, but actually go into some weather after that. Right now, I do believe we're looking at Earth. I'm watching Charleston's numbers, and I'm very scared and confused. I think they finally committed their souls, which, they're on the track of doing, but now it's great. But that's not the important story. The important story is all you weather windies may or may not have identified at the southeast side. And that is Hurricane Jacqueline. I don't know how to actually pronounce it, so we're going to call it Jacqueline because it's funny. So that's Jacqueline, and you'll notice the interaction between that and what appears to be an upper level low with this associated substance inversion right over Jackson, Mississippi. That's funny. Anyway. So very much forward in time there. You'll notice it's done minimal advection. In fact, it's just been chilling out over the Bahamas, which I can't imagine is good for anyone with vacation plans right now. But it's been doing that. So let me introduce myself. I think I've done this before, but I'll do it again for redundancy in case this is the first video you're watching. This is Dernk Weather, and it's a pretty straightforward concept. I get drunk and I talk about weather. So I've done at least one of those things, and now I'm going to get drunk. And I value feedback from my viewers, and one of which was stop talking about my hometown. My hometown is, of course, way up here in Alberta, where not much is going on anyway. So to please the viewers and to mix things up a bit, I decided to just pick a city at random. And today's random city is here in western North Carolina. It's called Asheville. I picked it just because it's a very interesting, unique mountainous environment. I even put a little marker there. And it's just strange because, you have mountains all around it, and they might get some downslope from the impending precip event, which we'll go over in a second here. So that'll be our area of focus, although, of course, weather is weather, and I'll try to talk about most other things. So right now, the major issue is this how these two things are going to interact. And the only way we can easily assess that is through various pieces of model guidance. So right now, if I were to pull up the browser to the top, there it goes. Okay, so right now we're just looking at a surface and analysis. You'll see at the base, it doesn't look like a terrible amount is going on. You just see a very large high pressure system sitting over the Hudson Bay, and then we see what appears to be some higher dew points closer to Florida, but that's not really a surprise to anybody. But what's really fascinating is how all these winds are northwest. This is all very clearly a cold air advection event, if you want to call it that, for right now at the surface. Like, you're really getting shoving in this cold air. And if any of you have done the experiment with a refrigerator, if you haven't, I highly recommend this when you go home today. Open up your refrigerator with your bare feet on the ground and enjoy the orgasmic sensation that is the cold air rushing in. There's a reason for that. It's because cold air is denser, and as a result, any upper level winds, which we are going to look at right about now, on the NAM. So what will happen is now you have these upper level winds. Let's just go a little bit up in levels. And then southeast. So now what you end up with is you have the hurricane, which is pretty damned obvious, even for those of us who aren't experts. But you'll notice it's that same thing. Remember, at the surface we have all these winds coming down, and it's really cold. Well, these winds say, fuck that. We're juicy and moist. Like everyone, never mind. And then they're going to, ride right over. So what you end up with is this interesting. Okay, let's just step back a second here and ignore that. So what you end up with is just this advection of moisture, which you can see if you turn off these dew points. So for those who didn't pay attention in class, especially on the coast here, these are obscenely high. There's like 60s, 70s. If you're the kind of asshole who gets 70-degree dew points on a daily basis, you just need to reevaluate your life. But so that's the main area of concern. You'll see as it weird. So that's our main concern, is what exactly the system's going to do. This particular solution is pretty dramatic in that it takes this tropical system and kind of shifts it into the Carolinas right into Charleston, actually. See, that was the 666 we were talking about earlier. That's what it was predicating, was this thing. But the problem with these kind of solutions is they are an individual solution. We need to analyze, okay, what's the spread look like? What are the possibilities? So we can do that for a second here. Let's say 57 hours out is game time for Charleston. So what we can do is compare the previous runs and then go to that 57 hours out, right? So for this particular model, what has the spread been? And you see we have shit all over the floor. So there's the current one, right? Last run, it's way the fuck over, and I can't move my mouse over there without it changing runs, but you can see it on the east side of the platform there. And then maybe the run before it, I don't even know where it is there. I think it just kind of merged and said fuck off. And then the run before that, it kind of shows us. So the point is, this particular guidance product, this particular run, shows a lot of stupid shit, which is highly variable. So that just means, at least that suggests to me, that there's still a lot that could possibly happen with this system. And we can look at the latest hurricane samples. And so if we just go on the current tracks, is that Joplin? So what we're looking at here, why am I still, let me do it. Stop. Yeah, I was broadcasting to a different agency for some in particular reason, and that may or may not have been killing processing power, so I killed that. That's irrelevant to you guys. Anyway, so what's happening here is that all of the model tracks, we just run a bunch of different models for the hurricane, and they're all sending it out to sea. Every single one of them. The furthest west one goes maybe 100, maybe over Bermuda. Not Bermuda. Is it Bermuda? What's the one island off of North Carolina? I think it's Bermuda. Whatever. That one. The point is, it's way the fuck off the East Coast U.S. Every single one of them. So that says to me that the NAM is an outlier. And it says to me that the Europeans, yet again, have won. I am not shocked, because the Europeans have beat the U.S. in numerical weather prediction since it was invented. So we take that into consideration. And another thing we need to consider is, yes, it is a category for a hurricane. It's pretty impressive. So the main area of concern, though, regardless of whether this output is correct or not, what we still need to look for is, just these general trends of this onshore flow. And the thing that still unsettles me is, even if the storm doesn't hit directly, which it likely won't, given the fact that every model that isn't a piece of shit says it won't, is that you still have a lot of these wind vectors, if I can find those. Well, that'll work, but relative humidity is better. So what you're looking at is all these winds from the really juicy, wet, moist, wanting tropical cyclone shooting into the North Carolina cold area. So we have two problems here. One is, as we mentioned, if you get cold, warm air rising over this cooler air, it's going to magically lift. The problem two we have is, for those of you who didn't pass geography class, there were mountains in that particular region. So you get these two things compounding on each other. You can get some very impressive rainfall totals, regardless of whether the actual system hits. So if we're just looking at Asheville, because that's the point I randomly chose, Asheville's right there in the mountains, right? So I just happen to know the identifier for it because I looked it up beforehand. So we're going to look at two particular products real quick. And those two are going to be the SREF plumes and the meteogram generator. And both of these products are good for assessing uncertainty, which is a good idea right now because we are really, really fucking uncertain. So we're going to click Asheville for both. Alright, so let's go to the meteogram generator first. And you'll see, even with that dramatic onshore we're all going to die solution, Asheville itself, just the point of the valley, only gets 3 inches of rain, which, is a pretty impressive amount. But it's not catastrophic like 13 to 20 inches that someone else is quoting. Similarly, we can do the same ensemble method that we did earlier, which is run the model a bunch of different times, only with slightly different conditions to assess error, right? So what you do is you get a pretty large spread for doing that. You get anywhere between 2.69 and 10.83. So that's a pretty broad spread. But then you see it kind of goes modal. You know, there's a kind of a consensus around two areas. One is around 3 inches, and another is around 5 or 6. So regardless, that's still a good amount of rainfall, especially for the valley. And we're not supposed to trivialize, especially here on Dernk Weather. We're not here to ever be funny. We are here to relay important forecast information. And that important forecast information is to stay tuned, because no one at this point, even within a couple of days of the event, still has any fucking idea what's going on. And if they say they do, they're lying to you. Or they're Jesus. Or they're not, because they claim they're Jesus, but they're actually lying to you. So, all in all, what we're going at here is that this is a very complicated system. It has very few analogs. It's not easy to just pick up with, just to analyze with something else. So we can't do that. All the guidance products are pretty bunk. All we do know at this point is that there is a very unique interaction between some moisture fields and some really other juicier moisture fields. And I don't know what else I could say outside of keep an eye out and don't do anything stupid, which I know you'll want to do because water on roadways is so tempting to go over. And I see that I've about hit 12 minutes, so I guess I'll stop there.